Ojwang was beaten with somebody who had a personal issue with him. I looked at Ojwang's body, and it was so painful to look at what that boy went through. I think it was so difficult for that boy to live to live to tell what he went through. I'm sure, as all survivors, this could be too painful to talk about. I'm sure maybe not just the torturing or beating, but I'm sure even psychological torture, mental torture. I don't know which question was being asked, what was being told, the insult was given. I can just imagine. But the person beat him in areas with intention to kill. I've heard people saying that was just a torture went wrong. No, the legs were just minor, like scratches, but the head was the target. There is no way God put a skull on somebody's brain, because that's the most precious thing. To beat a skull until it is broken, I'm sure that person had intention, and not once, not one, multiple injuries on the head. What occurred to Ojwang, from my own analysis, because I was actually presiding over the postmortem at City Mortuary, that took 2 days, and the delay was intentional, if you like. First of all, we got in touch with the body of Ojwang on Monday morning. And on that Monday morning, the body of Ojwang was not secured in terms of how it was kept. It was not in a body bag. It could really be contaminated, maybe to remove evidence. So the first thing was telling IPOA, we want the body secured, put in a body bag to avoid any further contamination. So they agreed to that, and it was done. The second thing was getting the postmortem done. There were so many excuses. I would call them invalid reasons why it could not be done on Monday from around 9 a.m. the way we had agreed. Mara, that Johansen is related to him. I looked at it from where I come from. I didn't see the relationship, because all Kenyans are related in the first case. I saw relationship could just be Elu and Elu, which I don't think I think it was far-fetched. The second thing later was that there was no any other doctor who was available apart from Johansen or Duor the whole day. So the only doctor which could come next was Dr. Njeru, who was actually in KU at that time, who promised to come at 2 p.m. And we waited at 2 p.m., all calls going to her. The excuse started being that I'm using public transport. Nowadays, I don't use private transport. Things that we can't actually even comprehend, because even Uber is private transport, public transport that can come quickly. She's in the matatu, I'm moving from. So in the end, when she came, she said that postmortem can only be done in natural lighting. And as far as I'm concerned, at least some research. Also, we also have some knowledge about lighting and the rest. We found out that artificial light is better than natural light. Before she said that in postmortem, artificial natural lighting will give us the real picture of how the species looks like. When you realize that artificial lighting can actually be better, because you can manipulate it, you can improve it, you can enhance it in terms of intensity, in terms of color, in terms of clarity, in terms of sharpness. So that was invalid. Then secondly, she said she's so tired, she's so fatigued. She's worked the whole day, she can't. And I told her the father of Ojwang has been crying, not even sleeping since you picked the son, who is more fatigued. So they denullified to do it. They said the next day at 8 a.m. she was going to do it, only to be found unavailable, completely couldn't pick her call. Then in the end, stories was like, we don't have another doctor. So then I went and told Johansson, give us the number of the PS, because I know the PS as a person. I told him I'll call him. Then eventually is when the PS threw her weight, and then Dr. Media came to do the postmortem. And I'm happy that when we came, we sat down as a team of doctors. We agreed on the strategy, the processes, and everything. It was followed to the letter. And the results came out that Ojwang was beaten with somebody who had a personal issue with him. I looked at Ojwang's body, and it was so painful to look at what that boy went through. I think it was so difficult for that boy to live to tell what he went through. I'm sure, as all survivors, this could be too painful to talk about. I'm sure maybe not just the torturing or beating, but I'm sure even psychological torture, mental torture. I don't know which question was being asked, what was being told, the insult was given. I can just imagine. But the person beat him in areas with intention to kill. I've heard people saying that was just a torture went wrong. No, the legs were just minor like scratches, but the head was the target. There is no way God put a skull on somebody's brain because that's the most precious thing. To beat a skull until it is broken, I'm sure that person had intention, and not once, not one, multiple injuries on the head. If you give once, maybe it was like anger, but I think this was continuous, consistent on the head. So the frontal brain, which was being said, the frontal head was completely a little clearer, but the bleeding was more on the inner part. The tissues damages were too many. The Ojwang tried to defend himself with the arms. They were all beaten. If you look at we call them front blazers. Blazers have bruises, but not bruises the way you call them. They're deep bruises. So Ojwang was beaten very badly. And what was interesting here was how the policemen wanted the family to believe a narrative which was not working. Every time we found new evidence, the narrative changed. So as far as I can say for now, as an observer, the policemen are completely culpable. We were able to get the contacts of the policemen who picked Ojwang from home, from Awego, their numbers, their names and details. We secure that information somewhere. So even if I'm to disappear, that information can disappear. We got the border people who picked Ojwang, who picked the policemen from somewhere where they were, took them to, from the police station, Mawego took them to Ojwang's home. We have their contacts, and even the OCSS from there. So the information is amazing. And before I close this one, I want to just say one thing. If you want to know to the level that the government is culpable here, just read how government is rushing to offer solutions which the family has not asked. One, why do you ask that you are going to take care of funeral expenditure before they say they are burying him? Have they told you they are cremating him? Even the family has not discussed the date of the burial. Already you are saying you are going to take care of the burial. Secondly, Ojwang's wife has been employed even before the husband is buried. I guess all of us know that justice comes first, even before those compensation. We want to know the truth, want justice for Ojwang to be done first, so that we can even know who killed Ojwang, who is culpable, that the compensation they are talking about, the relief they are asking to give, will be determined by what was the extent of the justice and injustices done against Ojwang. So the state is so much in a hurry, and I want to tell these guys, don't run for political things here. Let's first of all respect the moment. Ojwang is not isolated cases. Information we have is that any young person with a Twitter handle more than 70,000 followers, whether it is social media like TikTok, Facebook, all of them are government radar. They have a budget to deal with all these things. And Ojwang the people who dealt with Ojwang were given a budget on how to deal with him. And I want to agree with Rungo, who has said clearly that Ojwang's rights were violated immediately he stepped into Mawego police station. Everything went wrong right from there. So the crime scenes are right from Mawego, and so many people are this culpable, and no one should throw the ball at Raja. It's just who bears the highest responsibility. Even the policeman who left Nairobi to go and pick Ojwang from there and said, I'm a Tusi Mdosi Wetu. Already those people have violated a right. So there are many people culpable, but the ultimate responsibility sits with the person who knew when and where and why Ojwang had to be treated this way. Thank you for now.